What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Pro and Bro Wrestling Podcast. We are your host. I'm Arnold Telegaarda.
And I'm Mr. No Days Off, Fred Rosser. And episode 54 is a special one for the both of us. And for me personally, the reason why is because, representation in the Hart family dynasty, that's important. Representation in the Samoan dynasty family, that's important as well. But you cannot forget about this third generation Mexican-American, hashtag Chavo can fix it, hashtag Chavo can build it, the Guerrero wrestling family. You cannot forget about them. Chavo, thank you for joining us on Pro and Bro Wrestling. I always say, don't die with the story and you tell it. Thank you, Coach.
Yo, man. Heck yeah, Coach. Hey, thanks, man. Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me, Fred. Appreciate you, boss.
Chavo, this is a really special episode for me because it's really personal. Back in 2003, I actually met you because you used to get rims from my dad, Prestige Auto Tech Corporation in Chino Hill.
Oh, yeah. Who's your dad?
Daniel.
Yeah.
Vino,
man.
Akuza.
Totally. I'm still friends. I still talk to, I know Steve Cruz passed away.
Mhm.
He was a good guy. He was my original contact. But then I still talk to, God, all of a sudden you put me on the spot. What was
Was it Scott?
Other guy, Scott, there you go. Every once in a while, kind of, we talk to Scott, and he's still working in the rim business. Yeah, man. You guys were great, man. What great rims. It was awesome. You guys had you had a Kuza, you had a bunch of rims.
Yeah, Divino, right? Viscera. It was cool because I've been a wrestling fan since I was 7, but when I met you, I'm 33 now, but when I met you, I think I was about 14, and I actually skipped school to see you, and you were the first wrestler that I ever met in person. And I still remember that day when you came to the warehouse, man, you were like the nicest guy that I've ever met. You were nice to all the employees. And I want to show you something. This is really cool because there's a picture of me, because when you went to the warehouse, it was right before WrestleMania. And there was a picture of me trying on your Cruiserweight championship.
Oh, way. Look at that. That's crazy.
Isn't that nuts?
Yeah, man. That's awesome. Well, good, man. I'm glad to hear stories of me being nice and not being a
And I believe it was last October, Fred took me backstage to Raw, and I actually got a chance to talk to Ray, and I gave Ray the whole spiel, like, hey man, like I met you when I was like 14. That's the picture that Ray gave me, and he still, like, just like you, he still remembers too. He's like, oh yeah, man, like how's Pops, how's blah blah blah, and all that.
That's cool, man. I'm glad that that's hey, small world, man. That's what I always say in this business. You never know who's going to be your boss.
Yeah, Chavo, when I moved out to LA right before my release, I knew nothing lasts forever. So I moved out to LA, and that's how I met Arnold. And Arnold was probably like the second guy that said, maybe you should start a podcast. And for me,
right.
It's not about the numbers. It's like therapy for me. I say it every week. To be able to do it with my real life neighbor is a cool thing. I met right. Arnold right after my release. And again, it's like therapy for me. We talked earlier about you saying that you wanted to maybe possibly start your podcast. What drives you to maybe start one?
Yeah, so great question, man. I'm glad you brought that up. So, everybody's got a podcast up and everybody was talking. So, man, I didn't want to just start one just to start it. I wanted to be different. So, I was waiting, whatever. So then I went down and visited Big LG, Luke Gallows. Love the guy, love him. He was, got released and, just killing it, doing a bunch of stuff. He's a hustler. So I went and visited him and Mike Knox, and my wife came down and their wives, and just had a great weekend. And he was like, dude, why don't you have your own podcast? I'm like, man, I don't want, everybody's talking, everybody's doing the same thing. And he's like, look, man, he's like, you already can be different because you can talk about wrestling. You can have Hollywood people on, if you guys don't know, I've transitioned into Hollywood,
Absolutely,
Hollywood
yes.
actors and stuff like that. Your contracts, I'm building stuff all the time. I'm always fixing things. I'm right now rebuilding my mom's house, workouts, all these different things that I kind of can do and talk about. And I was like, God, maybe you're right. And they're like, dude, you got to do this. You got to start your Patreon page. You got to do this. So I was like, all right. So all that stuff's in the works. I'm actually have a meeting, some podcast guys here in tomorrow, actually.
Wow.
Just kind of talk about it and kind of just, I've already got an idea of how I want to be different. And there you go, man. So we'll see, man. I think I might jump in the podcast game for a minute and just, hey, I always like, shooting it up, chopping it up a little bit and talking to some boys, my friends, and learning about new people. And so I was like, hey, let's do this.
It's fun, man. I remember when me and Fred started, Fred was kind of worried about filling up the space. He's like, man, like, has to be at least an hour. Do we have enough material to talk about an hour? And right off the bat, I'm like, dude, I think our biggest challenge is keeping it an hour. If it's me and Fred just talking, I swear it's a 4-hour episode, bro. And we always have to like,
Absolutely.
dude, we have to wrap this up, man.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way too. And there's a sweet spot with podcasts a little bit, and I love, I listen when I drive to LA. I live in Orange County, so driving to LA, I got about either an hour to 2.5-hour drive, depending on traffic.
Sure.
So I'm always throwing in a podcast and listening. So I kind of see where the sweet spot is a little bit. Like I love Joe Rogan's podcast, but they're like 3 hours, and I'm like, God dang, dude, like me, that's that's a long time, So I know that it's that hour, right around that hour, that 45 minutes to that that hour and 15 minutes little sweet spot. Yeah. So I can talk an hour all day long. So
Chavo, you're doing it all. You're Jericho's doing it all. You're doing it all, man. You guys that not only do I look up to, but I'm sure the masses look up to as well. I mean, you have your own construction business.
Well, I call it the coronavirus construction company.
Oh my
God. But what it is my brother-in-law and I are super handy. We're like, we can kind of build anything, and together we can really just do it. So my mother, the house I grew up in Fountain Valley, California, she still owns it. It's a big house. It was just her, and it's like 3,000 square foot, big old lot, 4-car garage. It was just her. And when we were growing up, she didn't have, after my dad got divorced, and the story with my dad, he was excellent wrestler, one of the best in that era, and was just a rising star. And in one year, he wrestled Nick Bockwinkel for the AWA championship, Superstar Billy Graham for the WWF championship, and Terry Funk for the NWA championship, and won an hour Broadway with each one. Wow. So he was an up and coming star in the wrestling business, and it was awesome. It was great. But that was the 80s, and no one really, they knew, but they didn't want to listen that steroids and cocaine was bad for you. So my dad, got caught up in the wrong crowd, wrong this, and kind of, let his party and kind of take a front seat to his. Wrestling took a back seat to his party, basically. So him and my mom ended up getting divorced, whatever, long story short. My mom kept that house. Well, she was working for UPS, making $38,500 a year. She was just trying to keep a roof over our heads. So, the house was kind of started dilapidated and was kind of, needed a lot of work. So she's like, what do I do? It's about a year ago. She's like, what should I do? And I said, let's, we can either sell it as is, or you can let my brother-in-law and I come in and redo this for you.
Wow.
So she's like, go for it. So he and I decided, okay, we moved her out. We put her in a apartment over here by us. So she loves, it's just a 1-bedroom apartment. She's loving it. She's like got all of her friends all hanging out there. But we tore down, the house is down to studs, and we put all new windows and reframed and redid the bathrooms to where they're, reconfigured the bathrooms to new style, added walk-in closets, added a shower downstairs, added another bedroom. So we're like all doing all this stuff. And we're going to, put that on the market for her and, make her a little pretty penny. So that's kind of, I can figure it out. That's why I said Chavo can fix it. Cause, there's a bunch of hamsters in the, on the, up in this little brain here on the little wheel going round and round and round and round. And I can figure it out, man.
It's really cool how busy that you've been staying, man, after this whole like quarantine and everything. And you mentioned earlier that, you're getting involved in Hollywood. And I know you're part of a big project with Glow on Netflix. And how did you enjoy being I guess the right term for it is a fight coordinator, right? I mean, I know you train wrestling coordinator, yeah.
Wrestling coordinator, yes.
Yeah, because you train all the actresses how to wrestle. So how was that experience for you?
It's awesome. My uncle Mondo left wrestling and went into the stunt business in Hollywood, and retired with a pension. He got the SAG. He's a part of the union, the Screen Actors Guild union, something we didn't have in wrestling, of course. So when I kind of left wrestling, I was like, what am I gonna do? And then all of a sudden, Lucha Underground called.
Yeah.
they wanted me to come in as talent. And then I'm like, wait a minute, who's running this show? Who's going on? And they were kind of, they knew, but didn't know and stuff. So I kind of talked and I came on as a producer. When I came on as a producer, right away, now a producer in Hollywood, sometimes you introduce two people and you get producer credit. And then sometimes you kind of are doing everything. You're wearing a lot of hats. Well, in this project, I was wearing every hat. I mean, I was like doing, helping with set design, helping, with safety, helping with not only putting the matches together, but on-air talent, helping with wardrobe, kind of with everything, and with camera work. I mean, we had Mark Burnett's guys. Mark Burnett, does Survivor and Shark Tank, and I mean, his guys are the best people, but they never shot wrestling before. So I was talking to the cameraman and showing them, okay, we usually shoot wrestling from this angle. This is where we look. Sound guys directing, and they're like, Chavo, how do you know this stuff? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how I know it. I guess growing up in the business and really just watching Vince. I mean, watching Vince and being at WWE for 12 years really, really helped. And then from Lucha Underground, I went to Globe Called. I got a call out of the blue. Actually, I had heard of this project, and I tried to contact the creators, Genji Cohen, who created Orange is the New Black, Nurse Jackie, Weeds. So I was kind of like, let me try to contact her. Well, you can't contact her. It's impossible. They're very, very, very high up in Hollywood. But then, so I kind of let it go, and then all of a sudden I got a call out of the blue. They're contacting me. So when that happened, I went in for an interview, got the job, and it was kind of the same boat to where they didn't, they were very willing to learn about wrestling. They just didn't know about wrestling, but they were so awesome in the fact that they just knew that they didn't know it all. So they just, anything with wrestling, they let me do it. And then working hand in hand with the stunt coordinator, Shauna Duggins, it was awesome. So it's like I was going to Harvard of television right away. And now this is our fourth season. Now I'm behind the camera with the director and our stunt coordinator, and we're all the stunts and all the wrestling stuff. I mean, all the wrestling goes through me. And then, of course, okaying it through our stunt coordinator. So, but I get the scripts before anybody else, and I got to go through verbiage. I got wardrobe, same type thing. Rings, I had to order the rings. I had to do help with set design and make everything as authentic as the '80s wrestling as I could.
Right.
So that, I mean, it just happened, and thank God for that. I mean, and then since there, I'm going on to other projects. I'm the wrestling coordinator on the new show on Stars called Heels with Stephen Amell. Hopefully right now we're all shut down because of the coronavirus, so everything's shut down.
Sure.
But man, and it's like my mentor, Judo Gene LaBelle. He was the toughest guy in the world for a long time. But he was the wrestling guy in Hollywood for years and years and years. He is now 83, 84 years old. So now he's like, I can't do this stuff anymore. So he's passing these projects on to me. So now I'm kind of trying to become and walking in his footsteps and become the wrestling guy in Hollywood. So it's awesome, man. I love it, man. I just love working and creating now. As Fred was saying, we've been on camera. We've done that. I've been in front of the camera for so long. I like creating now. I like to see your vision come to from here onto the screen. It's awesome. It's amazing. I see why Vince McMahon does what he does. I see what he does and why it's to see something really just like a WrestleMania match where you have, WrestleMania come just this awesome, and then you got Undertaker and Shawn Michaels just killing it, and just it's awesome to see your vision come to life. It's great. I want to direct. That's my next thing. I want to direct.
That's awesome, man. So being around it so much, with Hollywood and everything.
Hey, that's my dog.
You don't have that itch to be in front of the camera right now. You feel like you've had enough of it.
You never, like it's like wrestling. You never retire.
Yeah.
You never retire. You always wrestle.
Sure.
But yeah, you know what? Yeah, sure. Yeah, you always have that itch. That itch is always there. But man, the longevity is behind the camera.
Mm-hmm.
So talking, I was on the Jericho cruise, and I was having a beer with Eric Bischoff, my old WCW boss, right? So we were just kind of rapping and talking and stuff, and having a beer. And he goes, "Man," he goes, "Chavo," he goes, "because you're doing it right." He goes, "You got a lot of people that are going on camera and doing their things. That's great, but it's very short-lived, as if in the sense that there's not roles for older, people in Hollywood. It's not really there. I mean, unless you're Clint Eastwood and you're creating your own projects." But he's, he named a couple of people, and he's like, "These guys are doing great jobs, but once you're not, those roles aren't there for you anymore. What are you going to do?" The Rock's doing it right because now he's got his production company, and 7 Bucks Production. Yep. So it's not just on camera stuff. He's got his hands on everything.
Yeah.
So I kind of saw that. I said, "Oh, okay." And taking advice from Eric, it's like it's creating. You can do that till you're 80 years old.
Yeah, that's true.
Chavo, this year you're gonna be 50, right?
Well, on paper I'm 50. I still act 13. I still act like 14. I got
I'm saying you look great, bro. I mean, health is wealth. Man. I always preach on social media, but you look great. I just wanted to say.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, you know what? You just stay on top of it. And thank God I was a late bloomer. When I was 18, I looked 13. When I was 30, I still looked, 22. So, yeah, man, I'm blessed in that sense that I still feel great, after, 20 plus years of wrestling. My body feels awesome. I feel, great. And so just training, it's diet, nutrition, you staying on top of it. Fred, just gotta, you stay on top of it. As you get older, like when I was younger, I never had to do cardio. It was just lifting, trying to get size, trying to get, shredded. Now, lifting's easy. I don't really have to lift too much anymore. Now it's just I got to watch my diet, get that cardio, and I just, I can keep muscle on. So it's you evolve.
Yeah.
Are you stretching? Are you doing a lot of mobility work? Are you any nagging injuries?
Not too much. I mean, you got little nagging, here and there. I've torn both biceps and had them both surgically repaired, and those are pretty good. Things here and there. A couple knee issues here and there. But for the most part, no. I'm always just on top of it, stretching. Any injury, I'm icing like crazy and taking care of it. I'm always just staying on top of it. So. I still get out there and do some running in there, and it's not just like a stationary bike anymore. I like to be mobile. I like to have that usable muscle to where you're. It's not just you're not trying to look good in just a Calvin Klein commercial. You're trying to be an athlete still. So I try to and then I'm in the ring still training people and training like on heels. Right. I'm training these wrestlers these actors that never wrestled. One's James Harrison, the ex world strong, the NFL strongest man that was an ex Pittsburgh Steeler. So I got these guys that are crazy strong. They're awesome, great dudes. But I'm in the ring with these guys, man. If I'm just some broke down old guy, then they're not gonna respect me. I got to be able to whip these guys' asses,
Well, you definitely still have the energy and the charisma, and I'm really glad that you're still in the entertainment business because I've always thought you were such a great storyteller. Because one of my late oldest memory of WCW when I was a kid was your storyline with Eddie, because I really dig the long storyline of at first Eddie being the bully uncle that always bullied you, and he'd always mess with your matches, and as a kid I'm like, oh man, I was so mad for you, and you finally the role kind of reversed and you had that moment where you snap and you got all crazy on him, and then you were too much for him, and he was the one that's kind of all right, dude, okay, relax. So to me that was such a great story. So how much fun did you have working with Eddie in WCW, man?
Man, that was just it was us growing, us as kids just playing. We grew up with a wrestling ring in our backyard, literally. So I mean, we'd been doing this our entire lives. So when we got to WCW and started doing the storylines a lot of times in wrestling, you don't know. You might have a little bit of an idea, but you just don't know where it's going to go. Right. And we went from him being the jerk and me being the straight man to all of a sudden I snapped, and he was a straight man and I was the one that was off course. It just evolved, man. It just happened, and man, we had so much fun with it. We loved it. And then when we got to WWF, WWE, right. They tagged us together one time. Mm-hmm. I'd already been there maybe a couple years, and I think it's after he had gotten let go and made his way back. And when he made his way back, they he came in with a vengeance. I mean, he was in such good shape. I mean, he looked like his action figure. He was crazy. He really did. I mean, it was crazy, and he was just laser focused and was like, clean and sober, and just like, okay, this is it. He got off that great program, Rob Van Dam, and started doing something with Benoit, and they started they tagged us together one match against Edge and a very young John Cena, who still wore tights and boots, wrestling boots. And we got done with the match, and we're like, "Hey, it was a good match." We walked back, and everybody was like, "Holy shit! Like, wow, that was crazy." Edge was like, "Wow." Arn Anderson, Eric Bischoff. Eric Bischoff was back on our talent. He was like, "Wow, that was incredible." And we're like, "Yeah, we've been doing this our whole lives." I mean, so then I think it was the next week, maybe the next week or the week after. All of a sudden, I didn't even know. I wasn't even privy at that time. It was only like my year and a half in WWE, and I go to the gym, and we're in Toronto, and I see Eddie. Hey, what's up? He goes, "Hey, man." I didn't even know he's gonna be on Raw. I was like, or SmackDown. I thought he was still on Raw. And he goes, "Hey, man, it's you and me tonight." I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Yeah, we're tagging main event against Benoit and Angle at in the Toronto Maple Leaf Center." And I was like, "Wow, oh my God, okay, cool." So next, we're main event of SmackDown, and man, I'm going against two killers. So we get done, and I felt we tore the house down. We did well. I came back, and Kurt Angle looks at me and goes, "Hey, what the hell was that?" He's kind of mad. I go, "What's wrong?" I mean, it's Kurt Angle. And he goes, "You guys kicked our asses in there." I'm like, "Well, yeah, you're going to do that to us, right?" He was like, "Well, yeah." And from that point on, we were off to the races, man. From that point on, it was just, we started tagging, and then that evolved to Light Sheet Steel. And then we turned into Los Guerreros, and, it just happened, and and it's funny because we were only together as a team for 1 year. Right. It seems like a lot longer, but 1 year we were together. We did so much in 1 year. And then Vince came to us and was like, "Hey, look, guys, I want to break you guys up." We're like, what do you mean break us up? We're like, "We're rolling." And he goes, "With you guys together, I have one match. With you guys apart," he goes, "I have two matches." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." He goes, "We need that. We need it on SmackDown." I was like, "All right, let's do it." So it just kind of happened, and it was what it was. Eddie went off and became, the heavyweight champion. I went off and became the Cruiserweight champion, and it was just, man, it was a super special time in my career, man. Man, I look back at it now, and after we had broken up, and like maybe a couple years down the road, we looked at each other and we're like, "Man, God, we were good." And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah, right." He was like, I didn't. He's like, "I didn't realize." I look back at some matches, like, gosh, man, we were just clicking on all cylinders. Yeah. Like, I read his mind, he would read my mind. It was like I never had that connection with anybody before. It was pretty amazing.
Chavo, this episode is so special to me because the perfect time to, segue into my first ever experience being backstage as a WWE extra. I think it was Ed Koski. Yeah. and you still remember so long
Absolutely.
ago. I forget what year that was. You were feuding with the Bastroms, but Ed Koski came up to me and said, "Oh, could I play detective?" And I confidently said yes, but I was a nervous wreck. I was a nervous wreck then. Now I'll forever be a nervous wreck. That's just how I am. That's my demeanor. But I remember, I don't know if you remember, but of course I would, but in detail, I remember we did it like maybe 10, 11 times. And I remember Vince McMahon, who was at the time hands-on, saying, "I'm buying the Guerreros, I'm buying the Bastions, but I'm not buying this detective. What are we going to do about it?" And like the last time, the 12th take, it was doable. And I thought my chances with WWE was over, but you and Eddie constantly calmed me down. Like, "Hey, just take it easy, Holmes. You got this. Just take your time." You were just there. And I just remember those words, Eddie, like he was just calm, cool, and collected with me. So that was my first ever experience with you. So do you remember?
I absolutely remember. Now, we were in New York, right?
Yes.
We were at either Long Island Arena. Was that it?
Probably Long Island. Yeah, sure.
I think that's where it is. I think that's where we're. What was the name of that arena? I forget the name, but
Oh, maybe Nassau Coliseum,
Nassau Coliseum. That I think that's where we at, because maybe Albany. Maybe it was one of those. I'm
Yes.
thinking backstage. Some of those dressing rooms started looking the same.
Yes.
So I remember being back there and then doing it, and I didn't know how young you were. You were young, right? You're like
Yes,
19
I was
years
probably
old.
like maybe. Yes, exactly.
I know, and I didn't know you were that young because you were big and jacked up. And when I was 19, I didn't look like that.
Yeah.
You know, so I was, you know, we're there, and you were very much, you were like this, and you were very just saying your lines like this, and you guys got to, and I was like, dude, you got to loosen up, man. Let it go. Loosen up. Finally, we got you like loosened up, man, a little bit, and you got it done. I was like, all right, cool. Hey, we got it done. It was awesome.
Yes.
But it was so cool to see you come in and stick with it, because so many people just don't. They just like, I'm going to try this wrestling thing and think it's going to be so easy, and all of a sudden realize it's not, you know. And then all of a sudden to see you stick with it, because I didn't see you again, and then all of a sudden I didn't even know you were in developmental. And then when you guys came up as NXT, I was like, oh, that's that guy. That's awesome. And you were killing it, man. I was like, you were like, man, this is the same guy. I mean, you were like moving. Your in ring was just, you brought it up to other level. I was like, wow, this, all right. I'm happy you stayed with it, man. Your body went from looking good to looking great. I mean, you were in shape. You were big. You could move. You were fast. I was like, all right, this guy's got it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, from 2002 to 2009, I grinded on the minor leagues, the independents, until I got signed in 2009 and did first season of NXT, and then fast forward to NXT Redemption, kind of the end of your run with WWE. It was just like, you know, what was your experience like? You know, having to be my coach, and then having to. I know Zach was a coach for Titus O'Neil. He was like saying, "Oh, I have another day on the road." You know what I mean? So it was like more time from him. You know, but what was your experience like?
You know what, dude? It was so easy. You were easy. By that time, I didn't have to coach you. We played coach, but man, you were there already. I didn't have to do anything. You know, it was cool. And then being on the road, I was used to just coming off of like, was that 2009 that we did that?
It might have been 2010.
2010. Okay, so I was either coming off La Familia.
Because me and JTG were your last match, apparently.
Okay, yeah. No, my very last match was Yoshitatsu. That was my very last match. Yes. So, well, at least in WWE. So, I'm trying to think. I totally remember doing it with you, but I just remember the year. I was already on everything, man. I was on going from La Familia. We were on SmackDown right to ECW. There was times where like I was the ECW champion at the time, so I would literally get the main event ECW get done, and then I had 15 minutes to go back, shower, change, put on different things, and we were the first segment on SmackDown. I was La Familia, so I mean, we were just I was on everything, you know. So I was already there. So to me, it didn't matter. I was like, all right, let's do this, man. Hey, we're doing NXT or whatever show it was at the time. And I was like, I was more than happy to be on the road and do that. That was just, I was a wrestler, man. That my entire life, I just wanted to follow my family's footsteps. So it wasn't a job for me. It was fun. At the end, that's when it started to become a job. WWE kind of changed a little bit. I wasn't happy with the direction that we were going with me. And that's when I started becoming unhappy. So then it was just, I was unhappy on the road. That's why I had to step away. And there's other factors also. I mean, I had kids at the time. They were younger. You know, I think at the time when I stepped away, they were 9 and 12. So man, I was like, man, I didn't want them to end up without a dad. You know, on the road. I wanted them to remember. You know, I didn't want to end up divorced. There was just a lot of other factors involved. So when I stepped away, it was just time. You know, it run its course. And I was the first. I came over with that WCW batch. You know, people that came over, and I was the last one there from that batch. Not saying that people didn't leave and come back. I was the last one that had to continually that tenure there. You know, man. So I just, it was just time, and I think if you talk to WWE, it was time. I mean, they're going to see it the same thing, So we stepped away, and it is what it is. I was able to, live my dream there, and then continue doing what I'm doing now because of everything I did at WWE, and that's the truth.
How much fun did your dad have, like, being in your corner? Because I feel like he was there for a lot of your special matches, especially I believe it was WrestleMania 20 when you retained your
That's right.
Cruiserweight championship on the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania. How was that experience for? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
How was it for that? How was that experience for the both of you sharing that together?
You know what, man? And that was another dream come true to have my wrestle with my dad. He was my idol, growing up. It was like I wanted to do everything and be like my dad. Unfortunately, I probably came a little bit too much like him, but man, I just wanted to be like him. That was it. So to be able to follow in his footsteps and to now have him my manager and adding to my matches, and it was man, it was great. He loved it. I mean, he loved it so much that he got caught up back into the old wrestling, that Chavo Guerrero character, and my dad was one of those guys that he believed it. He believed it so much that he would immerse himself. It's almost like an actor, like a Jim Carrey that's playing Andy Kaufman
24/7.
yeah, 24/7. That's like my dad. My dad would get immersed in it and became that guy 24/7. And now that's the way it was back in the day. In the 80s, you just were on. You were just this outlaw wrestler like the Freebirds and Bruiser Brody and Chavo Guerrero Sr. That just who you were 24/7. It's just the way you were. Nowadays, you have to separate the two. You can't be that guy that can't on camera and then that guy off camera. There's too much, with social media and cell phones,
Right.
and you can't just slap people in bars anymore. And
Yeah.
like if somebody you don't like somebody, ram them with your rental car. That's what they used to do back then.
Wow.
You just did it.
Wild
So
Wild West.
you can't. It was the Wild West. It really was. But you can't do that anymore. So you have to separate yourself from that wrestling character that you are on TV. My dad had a lot of trouble doing that. That was like, he was like, that person on TV is who he was. And it kind of who he was. It kind of like they bled together. So, man, just like, unfortunately, he just couldn't separate himself, so he got caught up in it again and became, the old stuff. But that was where he came from. The 80s, you didn't, when a promoter told you to do something you didn't like him, you told him to F off and you left, went somewhere else. That's just the way it was. You go try to fight him, and that's just the way it was. You can't do that anymore. You can't tell Vince McMahon, well, then if you don't like it, screw you, and I'm gonna try to fight you. Well, then you're out of a job. There's nowhere else to go like that. If you're fighting this man, then you're not gonna be getting a job in AEW. You're not gonna be like, oh, this guy's a problem. But back then, it's like they liked that.
Yeah.
It was a different time. So just to see that, man, back to your original question, man, just to have fun with my dad, and
That's
it was awesome. Yeah, it was so much fun. I look back at so many memories of WWE, so many different awesome storylines, and they overshadow the bad ones for sure. But man, it was a time that I look back in my life and was like, wow, that was fun. That was so much fun. And now I'm still having fun. I'm just in another avenue. I'm still involved with wrestling, but it's funny because with wrestling, I always said this would be the perfect job if I could sleep in my own bed every night. Of course, you can't, because you're on the road all the time. You can't.
Yeah.
So it was basically, I was saying, hey, this is a perfect job. It was on the moon. I mean, I could have just said that because that's how far-fetched it would have been. But now with Hollywood and doing wrestling in Hollywood, and I'm in my home bed every night, it's like it came true. It's really, it's so odd, but it's so, I'm involved with wrestling, creating in such a bigger spectrum. And then I'm able to come home, see my own bed, and drink out of my own, coffee mug, and in the morning go knock it out again. It's pretty cool. Work out of my own gym. It's man, I'm just so blessed.
It's the best of both worlds, man.
Absolutely, for sure. Now I do miss being on the road every once in a while.
Sure.
I miss the locker room, being with the boys, and having like the camaraderie that you had with the boys, and knowing that these guys, you just had your back at all times. I miss that. I do miss that.
Sure. I kind of want to touch on your WWE career because you had so many amazing matches, so many amazing championship runs. You won the Cruiserweight Championship so many times. Retaining it at WrestleMania. But one of the Cruiserweight matches that kind of stood out for me was when you won the championship against Jacqueline. And at that time, they weren't doing a lot of intergender matches. So when you were wrestling her, how did you feel about that? Did you feel comfortable? Were you worried about how people might perceive it? Or were you just like having a ball with it?
You know what? Great question. That was one of those things that, so you're doing stuff with a girl and they want you to lose. And I'm like going, oh man, I was one of those guys that just believed that everything we did on TV was like a movie. It's not, you're doing a character.
Yeah.
So great. And the way I look back at it now, it was excellent because she's tough as nails anyways.
Yeah.
But to do it to where I was kind of jacking her up a little bit, everything worked out perfect. It was like, jacking her up what you can't really do to a woman now, but yeah, right. But then all of a sudden I had my dad, just the camera work was awesome. Well, he's going, yeah, that's right. And he's looking at the holding the championship belt like this, and all of a sudden I get low blowed and get rolled up 1, 2, 3, and he turns around. I was like, what? And then she was champion. What the heck happened?
Yeah.
And right before we did a promo where I'm going, a girl, she's walking out, and we're rolling on the ground on the mat, laughing, demeaning her. I learned a lot from that, and I learned how to work with a woman. And we were doing a lot of the intergender matches in Lucha Underground, and so there's a difference between heat and change the channel heat. You don't want change the channel heat. When it's too much, I can't watch you change channel. You start watching something else, you lose that rating. So you don't want to be. No one wants to see a man punch a woman. Nobody wants to see that. Not a man, not a woman. Nobody wants to see that. Now, do they want to see? That's change the channel heat. Now, when you're working with a woman, it's okay to not okay, but like on TV or whatever, to demean her, and let's say you're grabbing her hair and kind of demean her, because I know I'm going to give it back to her. I know that she's going to start whooping my butt at any minute. So when I started, I used that when I was working with Sexy Star in Lucha Underground. Right. And she was used to doing intergender matches in Mexico and, having the guys beat her up and stuff. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that. So I did something to where I kind of would demean her a little bit. I put her in the corner, and I kind of like, pull her hair back, and then, try to give her a kiss. She'd push me off, and then she'd slap me where I'd be like all humiliated. I'd chase her. I run into, she'd in the turnbuckle. I'd charge her. She'd move. I'd eat the turnbuckle. She'd head scissors me. I'd fly out. She would dive out on me. That's believable. That is believable. That could happen. Yeah. Nobody wants to. I don't want to fight a woman. They don't fight like men. They don't fight fair. I don't want to fight my wife. I don't want to fight my mom. I don't want to fight my sister. I don't want to fight my cousins because they whoop my ass. But it's a different kind. I don't want that. I don't want nails and hair pulling, scratching, eye gouging. It's a total different thing. So when you're working intergender, you have like Ronda Rousey, the toughest girl out there. But if she was fighting Conor McGregor's gonna whip her ass. Mm-hmm. Yes. So I'm not saying that she wouldn't be whipping other people's butts. Not that at all. But at that level, it's two different things. So you still have to make it believable. So I learned a lot working with Jackie in making it believable. And then, because she's as tough as nails anyway. She really was, like I said. But then after she beat me, which was believable, low blow me, I was cocky, I was doing, and rolled me up 1, 2, 3. That's 100% believable. Then we went to the pay-per-view, and then I had my arm tied behind my back. And, that was a stipulation. And, she was on me like, flies on. She was like, bump, was kicking my butt. That's totally believable. I push her off, whatever. And then we cheated, my dad and I. He untied me. I was able to, stick her, beat her, and put my arm behind my back. And that's believable. That's heat. Yes. That's not change the channel heat. That's like, screw you, Chavo. You suck. That's the heat you want. Yes. So I learned a lot with that. So that it's just storytelling. It's storytelling, man. You know, you watch a movie and you got a guy, you have, if you're going to demean a girl, you have to give her payback in the end. And you can still look good. Both people can look good. But that's just what it was, you know? So I actually look back and enjoyed it, to be honest.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Chavo, that's storytelling 101 at its finest from you. You know, my experiences, I did matches with Hornswoggle. Now, what does it look like me beating him down, you know? So I have to echo everything that you said. Tell a story, pull him by the hair. He'll kick me in the shin, and we'll have our little fun and tell a great story. Who was one of your
How many times did I lose to Hornswoggle? How many times did I lose to Hornswoggle? The same thing. But it was the same thing. You can't beat up a midget. You just, or a little person, excuse me.
Yes.
You can't, I say midget because even him in wrestling, he doesn't want to be called a little person wrestler. He's just like, it's a midget wrestling is what it is. Yeah. That's from him, from his voice, not from me, but just saying, you can't beat up, you know, a little person. That's changed the channel, Keith. You can't do that. But now I can, you know, he can charge me. I can put my boot up and have him, you know, you knock down, and then I can rub his face in the mat.
Yes.
That's not changed the channel. Then all of a sudden, you know, he was big butt, you know, kicks me, and there was just ways to do it. So
yeah,
you know.
And that's so, and that makes the story so fun. But who was one of your favorite cruiserweights of all time that you just clicked with, like your number one favorite?
Rey Mysterio, man. Rey Mysterio and I had such chemistry. Even to this day, we can just you put us out there, we'll go 25 minutes and tear the house down. It looked like we talked for 5 hours backstage before we did it, but we didn't. We just go out and do it. The chemistry I have with Rey is just off the charts. Another Paul London, I had really good chemistry with him. He was really good, really easy. You know who I had great chemistry right off the bat was? Evan Bourne, Matt Sydal.
Yeah, I mean,
phenomenal. If you ask Matt Sydal, Evan Bourne, he was in WWE. Still to this day, he talks about it and says, "Man," he goes, "I was wrestling all over the world. I was in Japan, a bunch of stuff." Oh, they're playing my song. I hear siren. So he was, you know, he was already wrestling and, you know, all over the world. And then he came to WWE, and I asked him, I go, "Look, give me 3 moves." He goes, "I got 3 moves." And I go, "Okay, let's go." He thought I was just going to go beat him up and just go over there and just, you know, he thought, "Oh man, am I going to have to shoot and stuff?" I said, "No, man, we went over there and I put those 3 moves, and I knew he kick and spin kick and do all that stuff already, but we put it in at certain times. And I just, you know, it was just kept right off the bat. He and I had great chemistry, and he'll tell you right now, he goes, after, you know, wrestling for 10 years, he goes, this is from his mouth. The best match I had at that point was wrestling Chavo Guerrero.
Wow.
Just on a ECW match, and we just went and tore it down because just chemistry, you know.
We're talking about cruiserweight wrestling. How do you feel about the state of the cruiserweight division right now? What they're doing in NXT and everything. Have you been keeping up to date with that?
Sure. You know, I keep up with wrestling still. I may not watch it every single night, but yeah, I'll still keep up with it. I'm still checking out the dirt sheets to see who's got fired and who's different, stuff like that. Yeah. But yeah, you know what? The cruiserweights today are way better athletes than we were. Way better. The stuff that these guys do, guys like, God, in AEW, Pentagon and Phoenix. I mean, those guys, I call them the new Lucha, not just Lucha Brothers, the brothers, the new Brothers of Destruction, because they're just so good. And all the guys in, you know, 205 at you know, the 205 division in WWE, they're awesome. They're such good. The moves that they do, we couldn't even think about. Like Ray and I look at each other going, we wouldn't even thought about these moves, and even if we thought about it, we couldn't do them. That's how good they are. That's how much more athletic they are. To me, it's not about the moves. That's one thing that I get, and not everybody does it, but the guys that do, I relate it to, there's a movie, the first Transformers. I remember watching that movie, and I was like, okay, my kids love it. They're like, wow, explosion. Well, after the 30 minutes of explosion, I'm like, okay, I get it. Explosions. Tell me a story. I want to be put on I need to feel emotionally connected to these characters. Well, then at one point, you know, Shia LaBeouf's friend dies and there's like sad music, still explosions going on. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care about him. You didn't let me care about him. So he died. Big deal. Well, it's the same thing. The explosions help tell the story, but they're not the story.
Yeah.
So in wrestling, moves help tell the story, but the moves themselves are not the story. So that's where it's getting lost in translation a little bit. It's move, 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 moves. The moves are all incredible, but they're not the story. So you have to use those moves to tell the story. You can still show your athleticism, but you do it in a way that is storytelling. You know, there's then after that movie I saw, the first Transformers. Then you watch a movie like Bridges of Madison County. Bridges of Madison County with Clint Eastwood and Meryl Streep, right? So not one explosion, not one, but by the end of the movie, you know, it's raining, Clint Eastwood, you're so emotionally connected to these characters. You're like, get out of the car, Clint, get out of the car, go to her. And he does, and you're like, oh my God. Like, I felt so emotionally attached to these characters, but not one explosion. That's storytelling. So it's the same thing can be translated into wrestling. Some of these matches that are incredible matches don't have a lot of moves. Look at like a Randy Orton. Randy Orton, he's one of the best of all time. He's got 5 moves. He'll tell you. He's got, I got 5 moves. But he does them really, really, really good, and he does them at the right time. Yes. That's why he's such an elite wrestler, because he's a great storyteller that doesn't just rely on the moves to tell the story. He can tell the story, and the moves just are the icing on the cake. That's what wrestling's about.
Yeah. Really,
Chavo, that's perfectly said. And I always use Randy as an example. He's a huge supporter of the Block 8 movement. But when I got released, I had some of my best quality matches on the independents, wrestling quality people. And I would envision myself being the Black Randy Orton, doing a couple of moves, telling the story, looking at the people, each punch, not throwing rapid punches, but one punch, one kick,
just one,
just one, you know what I mean? And that's something that I preach when I do clinics too. So he's something that I always look up to. And anytime I see, I just get giddy. And I always use him as examples, his timing, his pacing, all that stuff, his accuracy. So
you're absolutely right. One time I had a match in WWE, and I was wrestling Shannon Moore, good friend of mine, Shannon Moore. And man, we were on the road. It was the last day of the tour. SmackDown. I don't know if it was SmackDown or one of the other shows, of Velocity or whatever show it was in the time. I forget what show it was. Man, I was super out of it. I had no energy. I just had no oomph. I wrestled. I got done. I came to the back and I was like, man, just God, that match sucked. And Finley came up to me and he goes, Chavo, excellent match. I thought he was joking. And he goes, no, your timing, your pace was excellent. Way to slow it down. Sometimes you go too fast and you're always going, you don't let things settle. And I was like, are you serious? That's how I'm supposed to do it? And that's when I went, slow, take it down. No, change your speed. We go from first gear to third gear to fifth gear, back to first gear. But you can't go 6th gear at all times. So that's what Randy has. He's so good at just changing his speed and slowing down at the right time, and then striking when he needs to. He's an artist. He's a master craftsman.
Yeah. Yes, and you mentioned Finley. He's one of my favorite producers to work with. And I would always follow him around because I would say, "Hey, Fit, I'm having trouble with the heat spot." He would just be so simple with it. Just give him a headbutt. That's the heat. All right, perfect.
Everybody thinks the heat's got to do some amazing thing. It's not how you get the heat. It's what you do after the heat. It's once you cut them off, the cutoff spot, then that's the heat. Then what you do afterwards. So I see sometimes these guys, and they do this incredible cutoff spot, bam, and they stop and they gloat and do this. I go, well, that's not, you're just getting your butt kicked. You're just getting worked up. You're just getting hammered. And all of a sudden you cut him off and now you're gloating. No. What you do is once you get him down, you start beating his ass. Boom, 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 boom. And once you beat him up, now he's down. Now you slow down. You become Denzel Washington in Training Day. You remember
Yes.
when he was against Ethan Hawke and they were at the top of the building fighting, and
Yes, sir.
Denzel Washington would kick him down, and once Ethan was crawling, then he would, like, berate him and kick him, and just that was storytelling right there. He wasn't just on him at all times. He was just now he was humiliating him, and then all of a sudden he'd get a pigeon coop smashed over his head, and there was a little comeback. That's storytelling. That's what wrestling is, and that's what we're missing a lot in these days. I'm not sure why we're missing that, because the agents, they're the same agents for the most part that I had. I guess some of them have been changed, but they're still in the game. Fit Finley's still in the game. Dean Malenko's still in the game. Arn Anderson's still in the game. Different companies, but they're still there. So
Yes.
I'm not at those organizations, so I don't know what's going on. But man, like those guys are the ones who were telling me, don't do this, slow down, change. Maybe wrestling, maybe it's just spot fest now. I don't know. But it's still still storytelling. Storytelling 101, man, is what it is.
Chavo,
We're not in the athletics business. We're not in the wrestling business. We're in the storytelling business.
Yes.
That's what we do.
Yes. Chavo, you talked about earlier on tour. For me, I would always sit in the middle of the bus. Where would you sit? Would you sit in the back of the bus, the middle of the bus, or in the front where they play the dominoes and stuff?
It just depends, man. Depends where I was in my career and where I was in the totem pole. Once I started becoming, more of a veteran, I was in the back of the bus with whoever, Taker and those guys. But there was a time when I first started, I was mouth shut in front of the bus, head down, and listen. So it just depends. Towards the end, I was always in the back of the bus, and me and Alberto and McIntyre and my boys were, back there kind of, being the idiots.
Yes.
But we had earned that spot. We had earned that spot by that time. And we still knew our spot in our spot on the card. We know where we were at, because once Taker would come back there or Shawn Michaels come back there, we knew they get first pick and we get second picks, because they earned it, know?
Yes. Yeah, I always sat in the middle because I didn't want to be amongst the craziness, but I also wanted my peace and quiet. So I'd always be in the middle of the bus. Sure,
I get it. Yeah, totally. So I was always the one especially at the end, starting the craziness, So I guess you just say screw it, and you just become that crazy person just to keep yourself sane sometimes,
Well, Chavo, on the road, I was what they call the medicine man. So how that is,
the medicine. You got the medicine. You got the medicine for the Shiki baby.
always, and no one ever knew, But I got a kayfabe, I got
you kayfabed it big time. I had no clue. That's awesome. I missed out and partying with you a lot. What the heck?
But anyway.
Chavo, you mentioned agents like Arn Anderson and everything, and obviously he's in AEW right now. As a wrestling fan, how are you enjoying the AEW product, approaching wrestling more like a sport? Now, don't get me wrong, as a fan, I love it because they have great storytelling, especially with what's going on in Cody and everything like that. They're great at it. But how do you feel about, like, if you go to their site, every wrestler has a little scorecard, kind of like 3 wins and 0 losses. How do you feel about that?
I like it. You're not trying to be. So it's the same thing that we did in Lucha Underground, and not comparing the two, just saying, just as an example. In Lucha Underground, we would rather fail being different than succeed being the same. Because once you become, WWE is the Coca-Cola of wrestling. That's it. And if you are imitating them and becoming another cola, you're just an RC cola. You're not. You're the generic brand at Pavilions or Kroger's. That's what you are. There's one Coca-Cola and that's it. So when you're doing the same thing as everybody else, then you're going to compare you to WWE. So I like the fact that AEW is being different and they're treating it different. So I think it's great for the fans, great for the wrestlers, great for everybody, just to have an alternative. And it keeps, I always say that WWE and Vince, when there's competition, that keeps them on top of their game. When they're only game in town, you get complacent.
Before we wrap up and take it home, I definitely want to hit you at 21 random totally questions that
Let's
I
do
like
it.
to do with the guests. Just whatever comes to your mind. So
Great.
after that, then we'll take it home, baby.
Cool. All right.
Okay.
Vámonos.
First,
Vámonos, we say.
yes, yes. First question: what's your favorite thing in your closet right now?
In my closet, my favorite thing has got to be my dumbbells. in my gym, in my house, it's in one of my rooms. My dumbbells are in the closet because there's not a lot of space, because I have my Smith machine and my cardio equipment and stuff like that. So when I slide that closet open, is all my dumbbells. So right now, with being shut down and not going anywhere else, that's my favorite thing right now.
I think the second question we know the answer to. When things break, do you prefer to fix it or replace them?
Fix it, baby. Fix it, man. I've had the same dryer for like 12 years, and every time it breaks, my wife's like, "Yes, I get a new dryer." I'm like, "No, let me fix it. Fix it out. Fix it."
Third question. I mean, I don't see this happening, but what job would you be absolutely horrible at?
Oh man, any job that'd be sitting at a desk wearing a tie and punching in 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 every day.
Yes.
That's what I would drive crazy. I've done everything in my power to not have a real job ever, and I've been doing good. I'm succeeding at it, so that's what I'm going to try to keep doing. When you're happy, it's not a job.
Absolutely.
What's your favorite movie ever?
Favorite movie ever? God, it's a great one. You know what? There's a few of them, but I love like epic movies. I love a Shawshank Redemption. I love Forrest Gump. I love a Braveheart. I love those kind of movies that are just epics. Man, those are like my favorites. So it's been a while since I've seen one. So I'd probably just maybe like a Braveheart.
Can't go wrong with that.
Right.
In the ring, what's the most disturbing thing you've ever witnessed?
Disturbing thing I've ever witnessed in the ring. Good question. You know what? Growing up in the ring, I've kind of seen everything. It probably one thing that really knowing that. God, there's two things. Sorry, there are another rapid questions, but geez. So one time when Joey Mercury were in the ring and he was still Eminem with John Morrison, and you remember when they were having that ladder match and his head went down and the ladder went up, boom, and broke his eye.
Yes.
That was pretty disturbing. But another one that really scared me, nothing happened from it. But one time, Shawn Michaels, it was nothing. He probably doesn't even remember. But he was leaning out of the ring. I think he did a run-in. He was leaning out of the ring to hit somebody, and the guy moved. He missed. And he fell out of the ring and right on the top of his head and bounced off the mat on the ground. He was totally fine. It was great, but I was like,
I remember
and
that.
then I looked
that was on Raw.
I looked at everybody in the back. I said, everybody, that's how close we are to breaking our neck every single night. So remember that.
Oh my God.
That was, even though nothing came of it, and he may not even remember it, but literally I was like, oh my God, like it just was so close to getting hurt every single night and breaking our necks. That was very kind of disturbing, I still think about that one.
If you had the world's attention for 30 seconds, what would you say?
The world attention, I mean, I'd say love. Right now, just love everybody. What happened to love?
Yeah.
It's just love. Like everything, there's just the world's full of hate right now. And I'm guilty of it as the next person, but it's just like love, man. What happened to, when did respect go out of style? That's what I don't know, but I just, man, one love. Let's all smoke a joint and hang out and eat a pizza and love everybody. That's it, man.
Sounds good to me.
I don't know, man. You're not right.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. What's your biggest pet peeve?
One of my biggest pet peeves, I think, is that word pet peeve.
I
I hate that word. I hate it. You know what? It's just, one of my biggest pet peeves, really though, is when somebody's mouth is writing checks that their body can't cash. Yeah. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. And I'm like, always like the guy at the end of the bar that's quiet, that's the one I'm not messing with. That's the guy that's the one I'll leave you. The guy that's spouting off and tell me how tough he is, how many guys he's beat up, that's the first guy I'm punching. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm like, come on, man, really tough. I know a lot of tough guys, and they don't have to tell me how tough they are. We already know. Ming will never. Ron Simmons will never tell you how tough he is. He doesn't have to.
Oh wow, wow. What makes you anxious?
What makes me anxious is I guess putting these kids through college, man. Is like figuring out what's the next. It's that hustle, man. I gotta keep that hustle up so I can like, okay, retirement. How long do we have to work for to pay for this kid in college? That's keeps me up sometimes. You know, like okay, like make sure these kids don't follow the right path and stuff. That keeps me up. That makes me anxious.
What's the stupidest thing you've ever done because someone dared you to?
The stupidest thing, I'm not a big follower. Like, okay, you're doing it, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
You know what? Now that you say that, I remembered something. So, in eighth grade, maybe ninth grade. We were in high school, and one of my friends didn't like somebody else, and was like, "Come on, we're going to go do something to his locker." And I thought that he was just gonna like, I don't know, like vandalize or something. I'm like, all right, cool. The guy ends up breaking in, and like I wasn't gonna go, and he's like, come on, you can do it. You're a puss, you can't do it. And I'm like, I'll go with him. And he lit this guy's locker on fire, and it almost burned down half the school. And that's one of the stupidest things I've ever, like, I didn't do it. I was watching, but at the same time, I was like a part of it because I was there, in a sense. So that's one of the stupidest things I've ever done is just not listening to my, my little inner conscience, and paying attention. I still kick myself for that one.
What's your favorite swear word?
I think it's shit. And the reason why that's because when I was a kid, one time, and I didn't realize I even was saying it all the time, but my wife said shit, and my oldest son, who was like 5 at the time, looks at my wife and goes, "That's daddy's word." So I think I just say shit. Shit. Probably that's probably my favorite. So it's not too bad.
Number 11. What is one food you would never give up?
Mexican food, man. I gotta love the Mexican food. And I always, it's hard because it's sushi, it's pizza, but my staple, man, is tacos and that kind of stuff. I love them because I can do them super healthy, or I can do them super bad. I can do them, vegan. I can do them with a lettuce wrap. All this wraps. What is this wrap thing? Like this whole, like they're just tacos. That's all they are. When anything you put into a tortilla, it's a taco. We've done it. Anything you roll is a burrito.
If you could have any 3 people over, dead or alive, who would they be?
Any 3 people?
Yes, dead or alive. Who would they be?
Dead or alive? I was a big fan of King David from the Bible. I don't know. I loved him because he was just one of this super powerful person, but was super flawed, like we are. So I'm a big fan of his. God, just to pick his brain for sure. Another one, 3. God, that's tough. Who else would I want to have over? I'd probably somebody really smart that I could figure out stuff with the universe. You know what I mean? I don't even know the person's name. Maybe what's Tyson DeGrassi? What's the name of the guy? He's alive still, but so dead, but he's alive. Okay, so definitely him. I like to talk to really smart people and kind of learn from them.
Yes.
And maybe a builder guy. I don't know, the guy that is always tearing down houses and redoing them. That kind of I love that kind of stuff. So I don't even know names, but I was put on the spot. It's hard to.
What's the worst backhanded compliment you've ever been given?
The worst backhanded compliment. You get them all the time, man. It's probably
me too.
You get them all the time, like oh yeah, he's good for for a little guy. That I hate that stuff. The little guys. Yes. I'm like, this little guy will whoop your ass, dude.
Yes. Is your belly button inner or outer?
Inner, super inner, man. It's inner. And the more I eat, the more inner it gets.
Who's your first celebrity crush?
Farrah Fawcett. Showing my
Yes,
age,
yes.
showing my age, but man, I'm a blonde dude, you know, and I was always like, I was young, and I was really, I was probably 5 years old, but man, Farrah Fawcett in Charlie's Angels, man, I was like, phew, that was my jam back in the day.
What's something you've tried that you'll never try again?
As far as eating wise or anything.
Oh, anything.
Something I've tried that I'll never try again. Man, I kind of try everything again. It's nothing that I don't really like doing. Something I should try that I'll never try again. God, you know, I've never really done drugs.
Yeah.
I don't know, you know. I mean, it's like, you know what? I'll say like maybe like a soma. You know, early time.
Yes.
You know, early times of wrestling. I tried them one time, and all the time it was somebody gave me two of them, and all it did really just like rip my stomach up. Like I was, I felt really crappy and stuff. It didn't really do anything to me, so I was like, so that's probably. I'm not a big substance guy, except for you know we just talk about.
Yes.
The green.
What was your first?
Sticky ickies, guys. It's not really, but that's not really a substance anymore, man. It's like
that's medicine. That's medicine. It's medicine to me.
Yeah.
What was your first job?
My first real job was pizza. I worked at Straw Hat Pizza, man, and I was like just turning 16, like 15 and a half, 16, and I was flipping pizzas, flipping pies.
Favorite TV show?
Seinfeld, still to this day.
Is there a personality trait you can't stand?
Arrogance.
Yes.
Arrogance.
Best gift ever received?
The best gift I ever received was my kids.
Oh, yes.
My wife gave me those kids, man. Two of
them. Toilet paper over or under? Last question.
Way over. I am that's you know what? And that's also my pet peeve. Wow. That's my biggest pet peeve is when I look down and I see that thing on the bottom, I'm like, wait a minute. It's supposed to go the other way. So over, and that's a pet peeve. I got to remember that. Next time, my pet peeve for sure.
No, I mean, thank you, Chavo. Time is money, and for you to be on our podcast, I really appreciate it, man. I really do.
No, man, you know what? I love chopping it up with the boys, you know, and anybody's been in the trenches like you have is like, I consider family, man. So that's one of those that anytime that I can jump on and talk and pick brains and just, you know, shoot the shit. I love that, man. So anytime like one of the boys, and I turn down podcasts and interviews all day long. I probably turn down 3 a day. I get them all the time. And that's no joke. I mean, I get them all the time, but anytime one of the boys is contacting me to do something, somebody that I know that I've been, you know, in the trenches with, 100%. The respect is so immense for you and for all the other wrestlers that it's, you know, you've been there, man. It's like family to me, man. So anytime, brother.
Thank you, man. Again, like I mentioned earlier, me being 33 now, and you know, still thinking about that day when I was 13. You definitely made my day then, and it's a day that I'll never forget. So just thank you for being a nice person overall, man. Like you don't know how much impact you have on a person. So I appreciate it.
You're right. You're totally right, man. It's like I said, love, man. We got to put that out there and give love out there, and you know, respect, and you get it back.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, Chavo. Appreciate it, bro.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you guys. Keep an eye out for my Patreon page and my podcast will be called Suplexes and Cervezas. So it's coming out. It's going to be coming out really, really, really soon. I'll be launching probably in the next couple of weeks for sure. So, guys, again, peace. I appreciate you guys for, you know, taking the time to talk to me. And viva la raza.
Yes.
Man, that was a fun interview, man. Super meaningful, super special, super personal. It was great.
Super personal. Chavo Guerrero. You always say every guest we have on, oh, this is the best one. This is the best one. This one was icing on the cake, man. Because we both have experiences with Chavo. My experience, first ever with WWE, being backstage, being a detective, to swerve him with the Bastions, and then fast forward to him being my NXT redemption coach on NXT, and then your experiences with your family in Chavo.
Yeah.
So this is very personal, very special one for the both of us. And Chavo was just so cool, had me laughing. I love when the guests always have me laughing. I
Yeah.
could do a montage of all the guests making me laugh, I just got a phone call today, well, actually last night, a phone call that I wanted, but it's like, what do I do? Doing some stuff. New Japan Pro Wrestling is doing some shows in, I guess, Ventura, California, where California Championship Wrestling or Hollywood Championship Wrestling runs somewhere.
Yeah.
They're doing some shows, and I just got the rundown by one of the bookers, Rocky Romero, who books American talent in New Japan, and he was looking for me to come in and basically try out, do matches.
Yeah.
So I gotta kind of figure it out. I gotta talk to my family, and because if I do this, and I'm gonna have to go back to I'm gonna have to quarantine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got it.
Because I can't be around family and stuff like that. I don't want to bring anything back, like if I'm wrestling. But I was assured that we would be checked beforehand and after for COVID. So I don't know, man. It's something I have to kind of sleep on. But this is something I can't really. I don't want to say no to. And Rocky Romero, he knows my eagerness when I went to New Japan Pro Wrestling show here in LA back in November, December, and I showed him my seriousness level. And he said eventually he'd get a hold of me, and he finally did. So this is something that I've been wanting for a long time, just to show my face with the people who book New Japan Pro Wrestling, that I still got it, that I'm a huge asset to the wrestling business. I'm a trailblazer. I am the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour. I've got a lot left in the tank, and don't count me out. So enough's enough, and hopefully I can sleep on this and think about if I should do this or not. But I still got a lot left in the tank. And he said, even if I don't want to do it now, there's going to be more opportunities. So, numbers are rising in California. I just don't know what to do, man. It's just like, this is a tough decision for me. I'm being real with you. So I don't know.
I totally get it, man. It's a really hard situation to be in, but yeah, just sleep on it, bro. And
Yeah, but what do you think I should do?
Well, the one thing that I would do is call him back and ask him in detail what their protocol is on for safety measures.
We talked this morning. We talked this morning on the phone.
Yeah.
But again, I have to text him back and probably just say, what exactly are you promising when it comes to testing and this and that, and when are you going to need me to wrestle, and how many times? Who am I going to wrestle? Because it's going to be a skeleton crew who's actually producing everything. It's like a 6-man skeleton crew when it comes to the behind-the-scenes people. And then, of course, the wrestlers would be social distancing, except for probably me and my opponent or whoever you're paired up with. So
yeah,
I got to ask more. I got to ask more questions, but I hate to be that guy that's always asking a bunch of questions. But I just need to, man. I just need to know that I'm safe, my family's safe, and all that.
Yeah, well, I can't answer for you, but if it was me and I was a wrestler and it's like New Japan was like a company that I really want to get into and they finally called me, to be honest, man, I personally still just wouldn't do it because, this virus is so unpredictable. Again, I've heard of stories of people that stay home and they just go out for groceries and they still got it, and there's just no way of telling how you fully get it. You might be accidentally touching something and that you forget, or it gets on your clothes, and and the scary thing is you don't even have to show symptoms. You don't know you have it sometimes because you're still healthy, but because of your immune system is so strong that you're able to fight it off. But when you interact with someone else, it goes to them and they might not be able to handle it as strong as you. So me, if I was a wrestler, I wouldn't do it, but I'm answering for me.
Well, bro, you're a psychic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough, man. It's a tough one.
You're a psychic, man, and scary.
Yeah, a little bit scary. But sleep on it, and like honestly, I think if you just have what is that?
I always have my notes.
Yeah. I love how you print yours. Mine's already like on the notepad, like on the screen next to it.
Yeah, no, it's on the screen, but I'm outside.
Yeah,
know?
that's true. That's true, man. But yeah, like sleep on it, and I think you'll know the right answer once you had like at least one night to think about it.
Yeah.
It'll be like crystal clear to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
all right, well,
great episode, huh? Personal, special.
Great episode. Yes, very special, personable, and I had a lot of fun, and I definitely sat under the learning tree and got some good laughs out of Chavo. And who's next on Pro Bowl Wrestling? We'll have to see.
We'll find out soon enough, man. But thank you guys so much for watching and listening. If you're listening to us on iTunes, make sure you guys give us a 5-star review if you like what you hear. And if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you guys give a thumbs up button and leave a comment and follow us at Pro and Bro Wrestling. And with that said,
block the hate, salute the great Arnold Telegarta.